All right, it is time to talk about the most important aspect of BBL SuperCoach, and that is, of course, the schedule. The double game weeks, the single game weeks, the buys. We're going to have to navigate it all through BBL 15, and of course, you're going to want to be on top of it, especially to put together your starting team. So that's what we're going to do. Let's go. Yes, g'day guys. Welcome back to the Surges and Sixes BBL SuperCoach podcast brought to you by Insight Podcast Network. I'm your host Braino and I'm here riding solo today to bring you through the schedule to make sure that you're on top of it so that you can put together your starting team and be competitive from ball one. Of course, we are only probably about, less than 6 weeks now until BBL 15 has its first ball bowled. I'm really looking forward to it. We've been thinking about it for a while now, and I'm glad that we can actually start talking about it. So you're going to get a fair bit of content from us, probably 15 to 20 plus episodes throughout the preseason. We're going to be previewing every single game. We're going to be obviously having episodes like this. We're going to bring you pods. We're going to bring you positional analysis, deep dives on the cheapies that you're going to need, the primos, the mid-price value picks, and tons more as we get it. And we know that news changes a lot throughout the BBL preseason, so stay tuned for that as well. Make sure you follow us on Surges Sixes BBL on Instagram and on X, and you can follow me at Brain Talks Ball if you want to stay on top of everything that we're doing over at Insight. But we are here to talk about BBL. Now, if you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button below. It would really help us get out into the eyes and ears of those that love BBL SuperCoach. We will be bringing you, like I said, plenty of content coming very soon. So make sure you don't miss any of these future episodes. Turn the little notification bell on. And if you like the content, we would appreciate it if you give the video a thumbs up to get things started. Now, of course, you're not here to listen to me blabber on about promo-based stuff. So let's get straight into things. We're not going to muck around. We're going to bring the schedule up on the screen. For those of you listening on audio, head over to the YouTube video for this one specifically. You'll be able to download the schedule there as well. We've got a graphic put together that's going to help, I guess, you visual learners out there put it all together. So as you can see, guys, there's a bit to take in. And I guess, the big talking points here are the double game weeks that you'll see in green. We're also looking at the black tiles that are the buys, and of course we're going to have to navigate those, and there's a couple in some tricky spots, and the single game weeks are clearly just white with their opponents. So I guess some things that'll stand out, and we probably need to start with the first 3 rounds really, because that's all that really matters to start with. The beauty of BBL SuperCoach is that we can max trade, so you don't need to go hard. I should say you don't need to conserve trades. Every single trade you don't use, you end up losing at the back end of the season. BBL SuperCoach has planned it so that you can use every trade you have throughout this period. You end up getting 2 boosts throughout the season. And based on I had a pretty good year last year. I finished 156th. And last year was the first time I've just gone boost straight out the gate. Of course, in different formats, you have to wait 3 games or 3 rounds for a player to change price. That's not the case in BBL SuperCoach. This format, you will have to be with your finger on the pulse as prices change after game 1, round 1, straight away, straight out the gate. So you've got to get your cheapies right from day one. But of course, you can correction trade throughout, and it won't hurt you too much in this format. So as we can see here, the Hurricanes and the Sixers, they are on a double game week to start. The common question that we're getting over at Insight and in the Patreon at the moment is what's the right amount of players from these teams? Now, I personally think that the right amount of Hurricanes based on their schedule, because they do play the most games in the first 3 rounds. It is 5 games in the first 3 rounds for the Hobart Hurricanes. So for me personally, I'm looking at probably no less than 3, no more than 5. I think 5's a happy number. I actually currently have 5 in my team. My first rough draft anyway, my rough draft, it's all you have to do is become a free member on Patreon to get that. So the link's in the description below. Just click become a free member and you'll be able to see my first draft. I've got 5 Hurricanes in my team at the moment. I'll talk about who the must-haves are and all that kind of stuff on future episodes with Horse and with Deadly as well, so keep an eye out for those episodes. But Hurricanes, I'll probably be looking at targeting 5. They do have the Sydney Thunder and the Melbourne Stars to kick things off. And, the Thunder obviously were very competitive last year, nearly took it all the way, and the Melbourne Stars have just been hot and cold forever, but you just don't know what they're going to put up. So the Hurricanes are definitely a team that you're going to want to prioritise, as are the Sydney Sixers. I feel like the Sydney Sixers are always a team that perform on doubles. They're just every single... and they've got 3 of them, which is great, but they also have 2 buys. So the teams that we're talking about here, they're very front-heavy from a schedule perspective, because they do have to navigate 2 byes between round 5 and 9. So the Hobart Hurricanes have that bye in round 6, double in round 7, another bye in round 9. So you're going to start getting, it's going to be a little bit tricky to hold all 5 of these Hurricanes guys from round 4 through to 6, because you're going to probably want to get off a couple so you don't get caught too short on that bye week. The beauty of the Sixers schedule is that their byes are 5 and 8. So again, a little bit tricky, but I think you can probably look at getting maybe 3 to 4 Sixers purely just because they're such a good team. They're a very competitive team. They're going to go deep again, and they've got some fantastic options to start the year. Sadly, Sam Curran's not going to be here to kick things off. But, he'd be a lock in my team in round 1 if he was here, but he won't be. So that's going to open the door for a couple of other options to kick off in round 1. Sean Abbott's officially, as of today, been named in the test squad too. So we'll have to keep an ear to the ground on what's happening in that respect. But there are some really good options at the Sixers. I'd probably look at minimum 3, max 4, because then, we're going to want to pivot into these Brisbane Heat and Sydney Thunder players in round 2. Now, Brisbane Heat, there are some fantastic options there. Xavier Bartlett comes in at a discounted price. He started the year at 207k last year, and he is like 128k, which is just ludicrous. Obviously, he had a really bad year last year, so that's one thing we're going to want to keep an eye on is those fallen guns, and that'll probably be a theme, to be honest, of this preseason, is fallen guns everywhere. Don't get me started on Aaron Hardy. These guys that we know are top performers, they're very cheap this year, so it's going to be quite easy to fill a squad. I don't know about you, let me know in the comments. But it definitely feels quite easy to make a starting team. It's going to be more a matter of who do I leave out is probably the bigger question to kickstart BBL 15. So Brisbane Heat, of course, they're on a double in round 2. Now, I'm probably going to be looking to start with 1 or 2 Brisbane Heat players and probably 2 or 3 Sydney Thunder players. Most of my squad to start things off, aside from maybe 3 or 4 players, are going to be from the Brisbane Heat, the Hobart Hurricanes, the Sydney Sixers or the Sydney Thunder, purely because I want to capitalise on those double game weeks. But, of course, there are some other options we need to think about too, right? Your Glenn Maxwell's, your Matt Shorts, your Jamie Overtons, these guns, that we know can perform on singles. We can't write those ones off. So stay tuned for those episodes. They'll be coming in the future, obviously, when we dive into positions and teams and do our predicted 11s and things like that. They'll be coming up pretty soon in the next few days. So stay tuned for the Adelaide Strikers and the Brisbane Heat season preview, where we'll go through all of that. But you're going to have to consider that too. It's a fine balance between the double game week players and getting the guys can perform on singles. Now, Sydney Thunder, Daniel Sams is a guy that you just need to have in your team. The role is elite. He'll probably bat 8, which isn't ideal, but he'll definitely have the death overs. They always rely on him to go short, kind of off cutters into the pitch. He does a really good job changing his pace up at the back end of an innings, as well as during the surge for the middle overs. So he is definitely a guy you're going to want to have to start. If you don't start with him, I'd urge you that he will be a must-have come round 2, so keep an eye on that. Now, of course, the Hobart Hurricanes, we've already talked about them. They come into another double in round 3, which is why they're so appealing. Now, the Melbourne Stars are an interesting one here because they go double by double. And it makes it really awkward because you can't really overload too much on Melbourne Stars players with that bye coming up. In saying that, you will need a couple of DNPs to be able to utilise your loopholes in different positions. So, Glenn Maxwell's definitely a guy that I'll be toying with starting with, depending on how he's going leading into the tournament. Marcus Stoinis is always, off the back of last year, a fantastic option if he can keep that kind of form up. He's been good for Australia in the T20s as well up until now. But then it's about not overloading too much and being caught with 3 or 4 Melbourne Stars players that are on the bye, and you end up kind of short on field. So yeah, managing that is going to be important as well. We see Joe Clark come in super cheap too. He's definitely going to be a very popular wicketkeeper or bench wicketkeeper to kick things off if Philippi doesn't fire in game 1. So, Melbourne Stars probably have the next best schedule. So to rate the schedules, I'd probably go Hobart to start. Then I'd probably look at I'd probably prefer, to be honest, the Brisbane Heat and the Sydney Thunder schedules just due to the fact they don't have buys. Like, you can get off these guys, but you're not going to have to because Daniel Sams he could be a season keeper. Michael Neser could be a season keeper coming in at sub 90k. So those guys you don't have to move them on. Matt Kuhneman's nice and cheap at the Brisbane Heat. The Sydney Thunder, though, you load up on them and then you get off because of those buys there from round 5 and 8. For the Perth Scorchers, they're the only team, and then we see from round 4 through to 9, there is only one more round, and that's round 7, where you're going to have 2 teams on the double and no teams on a bye in round 7. So that's another point where maybe if you're not keen on double boosting to start the season, maybe you can go boost after round 1, get your round 2 players that you want and set yourself up for round 3 in advance, and then boost in round 7. That's probably maybe the way that I'd go about it, because rounds 4, 5, and 6, you've got teams on buys. Obviously, the Sixers and the Hobart Hurricanes will probably be popular across the board. So for me, I'd probably look at maybe even if I was going to hold a boost, which I probably won't. I'll probably use them both straight up to attack all of these doubles from rounds 1 to 3. I would use it in round 7 there to attack those doubles there from the Hobart Hurricanes, who have their 3rd double there in round 7, and the Adelaide Strikers, who we will have to move heaven and earth to probably get Matt Short at 220, 230, God knows what it'll end up being. So he will be expensive. Jamie Overton will probably also be an option at that point if he's not called into the England squad for the ODIs. So lots to consider. Now, obviously, we need to manage rounds 4 to 6, the bye for the Melbourne Stars, but we've got Perth Scorchers on the double there, and they're often a team that will perform. But this year, they've lost some pace. They've lost Andrew Ty. He's gone. He hasn't been re-signed. They've lost Jason Berendorf to the Renegades. They're relying on guys like Marley Beardman. They've just signed, is it Brody Couch? Like, there's a lot of guys here from the Scorchers that we would look to them and go, yep, they're solid. I mean, who knows if Jai Richardson's going to be fit by then? You know, he's had all sorts of issues with his shoulder. So my concern, I guess, is that the Scorchers just don't have the firepower with the ball in hand this year. So guys like Marley Beardman could be a really fantastic shout. Aaron Hardy coming in at 70-odd K is just a steal. You have to start with him. He's not only a great scorer that you can rely on points every week. With the bowling stocks being depleted, he might actually get a regular bowl too. But, being at that price, he can, bat 3 and bowl 4 overs. You just have to have a guy like that in your team, irrespective of whether he's on a single or a double. And then you just cash in round 4. They don't have a bye, so another good team there to lean on and know that you don't have to eventually move all of them on to target the guys you want later in the tournament. Melbourne Stars, you're managing the round 3-5 double with that bye in between. And then the Sydney Sixers come back to their second double there after their first bye in round 6. Hobart then have their bye. So there's a bit of switching going on that you might need to manipulate between the Hobart Hurricanes and the Sydney Sixers. You attack that double when the Hobart Hurricanes are on the bye, and then maybe you might want to shift a couple of your Sixers guys back to the Hurricanes to attack their double there. The Renegades, honestly, they had one of the best schedules last year. This year they have one of the worst, and you have to wait all the way until round 8. Kind of reminds me of the Hurricanes from last year where you had to wait until round 8, but they didn't have any buys. So not overly relevant. There's no one at the moment that's really screaming out to me that I need to pick from round 1 from the Renegades. So I'm probably just going to sit back and watch a little bit. Hope the Tom Rogers, the Chiefs of the world kind of drop a little bit in cash and I can pick them up a little bit closer to their double. But yeah, sadly, nothing really appealing about them to kickstart BBL 15. And then, of course, the Hurricanes, you're going to just completely get off them after their double, I would assume anyway, and just jump back on the Sixers for that round 9. So, look, the Sixers having 3 doubles is elite. It's fantastic. That's what you want. They're probably the best team for double game weeks. So, you're just going to have to jump on and jump off based on the bye period there. Guys, that is the schedule. And of course, there's a lot to consider here when it comes to the schedule. Hopefully, I've been able to break it down enough for you to give you an idea on where my head's at with my starting team. I'll be attacking rounds 1, 2, and 3 with no buys and also 2 teams on the double each week. So Hobart Hurricanes priority, load up on the Sixers to start. Then you can make sure you probably want a couple of Thunder and a couple of Heat players to kick things off, just so that you can then make your choice on who's hot coming into round 2. And then, you're sitting on your Hurricanes players and you're probably pivoting from your Sixers players potentially over to your Melbourne Stars guys to really target them. So lots to consider. Let me know in your team who you're thinking about. Who are the players that are maybe flying under the radar? We'll be doing a pod episode that'll be inside the Patreon this year. If you do want to sign up and you do want to, 1, support the show, but 2, get more access to us and what we do, it'll be Deadly Horse and myself will be very active, not only in the WhatsApp chat, but we'll be bringing you articles on player rankings. We're doing a deep dive into each predicted 11 for each squad as we move into BBL 15, as well as tons of other stuff inside the Patreon. There'll also be a final Q&A, live Q&A inside the Patreon as we get a little bit closer to answer all of our subscriber questions. So if you want access to all that, less than $10 a month, if you want access to the full season, you probably only need to pay for 3 months, and then you're sweet. So $30, and hopefully it puts you in good stead to take out your leagues, your cashies, and maybe even take out the whole thing. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Hit the subscribe button. Give it a thumbs up if you like the content as well. We would appreciate that. There's a new hype button on YouTube. Give that a smash if you want to get this episode out to more people. We would love that as well. And for those of you on audio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever it is you get your audio content, give us a follow there and leave us a 5-star review. We would really appreciate that as well. Thanks, guys, for listening. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you for the next episode very soon. Catch you then.